wants to make the third and final attempt at aid?
I will inspire... Oh, shit.
I do.
I'll let you do it.
I pull my sister in close, and I say, "Take me instead, you raven."
These 6 words, "take me instead, you raven," are the most crucial words in Critical Role's history. Not only did they set up one of the most moving storylines in the entirety of the show, they set the foundation of the tone and the structure of the future of Critical Role. Before that moment in the Sunken Tomb, Critical Role was different than we know it today. It was less coherent and a lot looser. It felt much more like a home game, just with talented voice actors. The stories were disconnected from the characters with the exception of the Briarwood arc, which we'll talk about in a bit. The characters, while far from flat, had mostly thin motivations, but this line, Vax offering his life for his sisters, was different. It was a highly emotionally charged moment that dramatically changed the campaign as well as all of the campaigns that followed. It was a moment where a player's choice drove the overall narrative in a deep and meaningful way, which is something that Critical Role is well known for. But at the time, it wasn't, because this is where it started. Before those 6 words were 2 official story arcs, the Craghammer arc and the Briarwood arc. These 2 collections of episodes are very different and show a significant evolution in and of themselves. Craghammer is a loose collection of quests, including descending into the Underdark to find Lady Kima, to hunting dangerous monsters with the Slayer's Take, to Keyleth attempting to complete a part of her Aramente. This is all pretty standard D&D questing. Not bad by any means, but not what critters have now come to expect. Arc 2 is more focused and more character-centered. The Briarwoods, villains from Percy's backstory, come into frame and the party agree to embark on a quest of vengeance and rebellion to overthrow them. But I don't mark the Briarwood arc as a moment of change, nor do I credit Keyleth's first steps towards her Armente either. While those were certainly character-driven stories, they weren't driven by character choice. Those arcs were built on the character backstory, not any active decision made in the game. Players are always making choices, and that affects how the story unfolds. But these choices have never driven the narrative in a meaningful way. The Briarwood arc doesn't happen because of a choice that Taliesin made in-game. It happened because Taliesin wrote a backstory that was compelling enough for Matt to turn it into a standalone adventure in the campaign. The same thing with Keyleth's Aramente. It was more or less predetermined motivation that carried over into the game. And I'm not trash-talking those things. Those are extremely valuable, but in my mind, they're not what Critical Role is known for. Critical Role is known for having stories that evolve through play. And that all starts in episode 44. The Sunken Tomb. Vox Machina is delving into an underwater tomb to find the Deathwalker's Ward, a vestige of divergence in order to defeat the Chroma Conclave. It's a relatively standard quest: delve into a dungeon to find a powerful magic treasure to defeat the big bad evil guy. In this case, a group of quasi-aligned dragons. But what comes out of it is anything but standard. After fighting and defeating a beholder, the group begins looting the final chamber, as one does. And while Vax, the rogue whose job it is to check for traps, is preoccupied, Percy makes a careless choice that results in, well, this.
Very gently, I'm removing the leather armor.
I need Vex, I need Percy, and I need Trinket to all make dexterity saving throws.
Oh, snaps.
Evil shit.
Sorry.
Oh,
1.
You manage, as you reach out and grab for the armor, as your fingers touch it, there's this vibration, and it seems like the nearby shadows in the corners seem to reach up towards your hands. You pull back in time, but you and Trinket notice a little too late as there's a burst of death, a burst of death energy that just bursts out. You and Trinket
are dead.
suffer 56 points of necrotic damage.
I'm unconscious.
Does that bring you below 0?
Yeah.
Vex's body falls and hits the stonework, and you look over as you see her eyes stare up, the last bit of air escaping from her lungs as the life drips out of her form.
Vex is Vax's twin sister, and is more important to him than his own life. They are the only ones who have been there for each other their whole lives. They don't know life without each other, and Vax doesn't feel like he can go on without Vex. So, during the resurrection ritual, he says the words.
My sister in close, and I say, "Take me instead, you raven bitch."
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
That's a good offering.
with advantage.
11.
11. Okay. At this point, the dark female form that drifts from the altar, as it gets closer and closer, the presence is different. What you feared was Vesh is not Vesh, actually. It is an image, a specter of the Raven Queen herself. And as it steps forward, no expression, no words, the hand reaches out towards you, Vax. There's a nod. The magic strengthens, focusing through your moon crystal into Vax's body. The vision of the Raven Queen nods the head to you, steps backward, and the specter vanishes. Breath fills Vax's lungs.
Take me instead, you raven bitch. I feel like the energy at the table during this moment is deeply palpable. Like, you know that something kind of incredible is happening. You can almost see Matt's eyes light up as he realizes the opportunity that he has here. I don't know what most DMs would do in his shoes, but I think a lot would either not allow this trade to be made, or would do a one-for-one exchange. Vax for Vex. And I don't think either of those are bad choices, but Mercer goes a step beyond. I have no idea what he was thinking in the moment or what role the dice played here, but I think this is one of Mercer's finest moments. It's subtle, but deeply impactful on so many levels, as it is for Liam. He's known for making bold choices, and this is one of his boldest. At first, they keep things kind of vague. The implication is clear: there will be a cost for this resurrection, but we don't know what it is yet, or when it'll be paid. Soon, Vax has a vision, in which things are still vague, but made the tiniest bit clearer.
Her voice fills your mind, both calm but cold. This is you, my champion. You are fate-touched. The choice is yours. Rebirth or ruin. Maker or martyr. Conqueror. Tyrant. Or nothing.
The Raven Queen offers him a choice. Vax mulls over his choice for a while, but when another of his comrades, Grog, falls, he makes his choice.
I know you are not what I want, but you are what we need. And I will put aside my reservations and serve you. It is too soon for him. We need him. It is needed. I will set aside my reservations and serve you. Please.
Over the course of the campaign, we learn more and more about what this means. Vax is now in the service of the Raven Queen, and that is a major part of Critical Role's story. And I would argue it is the core story of Critical Role. It sets up a beautiful tragedy of death, sacrifice, and fate. And it's the catalyst for some of the best moments in all of Critical Role, not to mention the final moment of Campaign 3, which is a long-awaited resolution of this choice. I watched the finale to Campaign 1 of Critical Role during a tough time in my life. I'm not going to elaborate on it, but I think in a lot of ways I related to Vax. His life wasn't going the way he thought, but he was able to find purpose and peace with it anyway. Specifically in the people around him, and I think I found that inspiring, and I think a lot of others did too. Vax's service is perpetual. To the best of Vox Machina's knowledge, Vax will have to serve as the champion of the Raven Queen for the rest of his life and beyond. Being the god of death, all he will do upon dying is become closer to her. This is especially tragic for Vax's love interest, Keelan. These two want nothing more than to be together, but the universe and fate insists on wrenching them apart. The tale of Vax and Keyleth is one of the most beautiful love stories I have ever experienced. The core of it grew out of one choice Liam and Matt made in a moment of desperation, and also another choice that Liam made, just like so much of Critical Role. Many of the most impactful moments of this series grew out of this storyline, including, but not limited to, Sam saving his wish, Vax's goodbye, Vax's words at his sister's wedding, Vax saving Keyleth. Vax's sacrifice led to so many beautiful moments that I can't list all of them. But I would argue the tone and style of that choice heavily informed basically all of Campaign 2. From the beginning, something was different about Critical Role's second campaign. The tone was a lot less casual and a bit more melancholy, all without sacrificing too much of the silliness and lightheartedness of the previous campaign. The characters had secrets, trauma, moral ambiguity. Players leaned into introspection, flawed decisions, and emotional conflict. And more importantly, their arcs aren't clear. Every character is a fleshed out, three-dimensional person with a complicated past, but it's never clear where that past is going to lead them. Caleb seems to have clear goals, but he's so traumatized it's unclear if he's going to go through with whatever those goals are. Nott's past is mysterious and she seems to act in unpredictable ways, but each action is obviously motivated. We just don't know why. Jester seems to just be out for adventure, and while she does have some stuff she wants to do, she mostly just seems to want to experience the world, so that leaves her story open to just about anything. It was still Critical Role, but things had shifted. One of the biggest differences between Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 is that Campaign 2 isn't easily separated into different arcs like Campaign 1 is. It's pretty clear where one arc ends and another begins in the first campaign, whereas in the second, it's a little more difficult. They tend to kind of flow from one story to the next without many clear indicators. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's just different. And I think that's a direct consequence of the Sunken Tomb, because the stories being told are deeply influenced by choices the players make in the game, and the arcs of the characters have more focus than the actual plots that they take part in. To me, the most clear example is Ford's arc, which I really need to make a video about because the more I think about it, the more I fall in love with it. Ford is set up as this everyman who gains mysterious powers and wants to understand them. And genuinely, I was never sure what was going to happen with him because it was never really clear what he wanted. And I don't think Travis even knew what Ford wanted. He was a storm of good intentions and dark power that kind of yo-yo between good and evil throughout a large section of the campaign. He nearly frees his patron Uk'otoa, which he knows is a bad idea, just because he doesn't know his path. His path is being created as he goes because his story depends on his choices, much like Vax and the Raven Queen. And then he makes one of the biggest choices in Critical Role history.
I'll pull the blade back and throw it
Into the...
And no one really expected it. Except maybe Caduceus, because he's the best and I made a video about him and you should watch it. Campaign 2 is Critical Role's most beloved campaign, and for good reason. The characters are deep and rich, and more importantly, the story revolves around them and their choices. But I don't think Campaign 2 would look like it did without Vax's arc with the Raven Queen. I don't know what it would have looked like, but it wouldn't look like what it is. And he might never have had a relationship with the Raven Queen without those 6 words.
Take me instead, you Raven